So yeah, we got new seasons confirmed for Frieren, Tensura, Oshinoko, and Elusive Samurai, but what I want to talk about first is this. It was last weekend over at New York Comic Con that it was announced that the highly popular webcomic The Beginning After the End would be getting its own anime. That's right, what is undoubtedly one of the most popular webcomics ever created is finally getting animated and brought to life for us. In fact, on the site Tapas where The Beginning After the End is published, it currently sits at over 36 million views total. That's absolutely massive when compared to Solo Leveling, which is only at 23 million. Now, obviously that doesn't take into account other sources too, but with a reported 150 million views total worldwide, that's certainly no small number to scoff at. So, what is it that makes The Beginning After the End so popular then? Well, whether it's the skillful blend of traditional isekai, power fantasy, and conflict-filled adventure, the emotional character-driven narrative somewhat similar to Mushoku Tensei, or the high-quality webcomic depicting all that with amazing art, The Beginning After the End has quite a bit going for it. I'm not usually one to compare Mushoku Tensei to just any series, but with the author himself saying he drew quite a bit of inspiration from it, it doesn't take very long to see why. It's mostly in the beginning and the way it turns into a coming-of-age story though, so everything after is very much its own. You don't need to worry about a Rudy-type character either, since where Rudy is hindered by the trauma of his past life, Arthur Lewin is instead one of the greatest warriors to ever live. He was this once noble king whose authority and power was unmatched by anyone. This results in two vastly different protagonists, since where Mushoku Tensei focuses on Rudy, his flaws, and his slow progressive character growth, The Beginning After the End presents Arthur as the opposite. He capitalizes on his former knowledge and exceptional experience, then uses them the best way he can to protect those he cares about. They both strive to live their new lives to the fullest, but Rudy does so in order to not waste his life a second time, while Arthur does so in order to maintain the relationships he never had in his past life. So, The Beginning After the End may be a bit more cliché when it comes to the themes it presents to us, but the way it does so is very much enjoyable. It wouldn't be as popular as it is if it wasn't. Why then is there a big cautionary but in the title? Well, while you would think this amazing story has all the ingredients to make an even better anime, at the end of the day, it can only be as good as the studio making it. Unfortunately for us, that studio doesn't really have the greatest track record. It's coming from the people behind Studio ACAT, who, if you don't recognize, it's probably because they've only made really mid-anime. There's Battle in 5 Seconds After Meeting, 2022's She Professed Herself Pupil of the Wise Man, the girls' baseball anime Tamayomi, then a bunch of other okay fantasies I've mentioned in my seasonal roundups before. Now, it's not impossible for Studio ACAT to whip up something amazing, but given these examples and the trailer, which wasn't anything spectacular, I don't think we're in store for a Solo Leveling or Tower of God Season 1. It's not the worst trailer since there is actual animation in it, but there wasn't anything particularly mind-blowing either. For me, this trailer just gave off the same vibe as all the other mediocre fantasy trailers. Animation and aesthetic aside though, the actual staff is somewhat of a different story. Reason being that with Turtleme himself being brought on as an executive producer, that means he as the creator will have a direct influence over how his series takes shape. He unfortunately doesn't have final say like how he usually does, but he has gone on record to say he's working to strike a balance between what he wants and what the producers want. Something that's accessible to those coming to the series for the first time, while also doing justice to the rich world that is The Beginning After the End. This means plenty of Easter eggs to reward longtime readers, along with a strong base season to carry forward multiple more. Apparently, getting renewed is the top priority for them. Other staff include the director of Data Live, Katanagatari and School Days, series composition by the same person responsible for Absolute Duo, character design led by the talent behind Fate Grand Order and Black Clover, then OSTs by the same person who gave us the Danmachi soundtrack. So, even if the animation turns out to be a flop, at the very least we should be able to expect everything else to be okay. Well, at least that's what I'm hoping. In any case, the anime will start sometime in 2025, first bringing us a 12-episode Season 1, then another 12-episode Season 2 right after. It'll be 24 straight episodes for 6 straight months. Now, whether it succeeds like Solo Leveling or fails like Tower of God Season 2, ultimately depends on everyone's reception to it. Luckily, it has a massive fan base already backing it, but as we saw with Tower of God, that's unfortunately not enough to sustain its popularity. If the anime's bad, then people won't watch it, and it would be an absolute shame for a series as good as this not to succeed, especially with how passionate Turtle Me is. But yeah, that's a quick overview of the beginning after the end, and something to hopefully look forward to next year. There's plenty more to look forward to as well, including the recently announced sequels like Frieren and Tensura. We all knew Frieren was inevitable, but only last month did they finally confirm it. It came alongside a small teaser and brand new illustration. That and confirmation Madhouse will be returning to animate it. So, though we don't have a release date or any other information, I think it's okay to assume Season 2 will be just as good as the first. It still sits comfortably as the #1 anime on MAL, and the overall perception of it hasn't changed since the day it started. I myself still need to finish it, but that's something that we can talk about later. Or you can just roast me in my chat on stream on Sundays. Now, Tensura surprisingly confirmed its next season immediately, which if you've made it past Season 3 and all its meetings, I promise it'll be worth it in Season 4. Yes, there was a lot of world building and politicking, but it's that proper establishment of the landscape which makes the conflicts all the more enjoyable. Season 3 aside, alongside Season 4 was the announcement of a second movie, one that will more than likely be another anime original. It potentially pertains to the person in Rimuru's right eye here, since the identity of this character isn't really known by anyone. That said, it'll be interesting to see how they make it relate to the core events of the main plot. The Scarlet Bonds movie wasn't too bad, so if it's something akin to that, then I'll probably end up watching it in theaters anyway. No release date has been given yet, but if I had to guess based on the spacing of the announcement and release of previous seasons, we're more than likely gonna have to wait a year and a half. Season 3 came out 3 years after Season 2, but the announcement itself was only 1.5 years ago. So based on that, I'm thinking that that's the bare minimum, especially when they have to work on a movie too. Now, it wasn't just those two who got confirmed sequels, since Wisteria Wand and Sword also made an immediate announcement too. This was my favorite anime of last season, so as long as the staff stays the same and the quality remains consistent, I'll be more than happy to keeping up with this. The other two sequels are Oshinoko and Elusive Samurai, so while both did just finish airing only last month, it's nice to see such high quality anime getting immediate renewals like that. Oshinoko was definitely expected, but Elusive Samurai I assumed would take a while. Now that both are on the way though, it's 2 more high quality anime to look forward to. Oshinoko already confirmed it's the same studio and staff as the previous seasons, while for Elusive Samurai we're still waiting. Either way, I can't imagine it's gonna be anyone other than the talented team over at Cloverworks. Lastly, I want to talk about Solo Leveling, since we're actually only 2 months away from Season 2. One, if you're going to watch the movie. Just like how Demon Slayer does with their seasons, Aniplex said they want some of that money too and have put together a feature-length film recapping Season 1 and showcasing Season 2. It's apparently a condensed version of Season 1 followed by the first 2 episodes of Season 2. That'll be in theaters overseas starting December 6th, so if you really can't wait until January, then go ahead and watch the Reawakening film first. The new arc looks to be just as good as the first, so it honestly might be worth it to watch some of this high-quality action on the big screen. Either way, I think we're in for a nice long run with Solo Leveling as a whole, something I hope can eventually be done for the beginning after the end. But yeah, that's some anime updates that I wanted to share with you. Let me know down below which ones you're most looking forward to. Now, if you're new here, I'm actually in the middle of covering Re:Zero and Danmachi, so if you want to see peak fantasy and all its glory, feel free to check out these videos here. But anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of anime content, then you already know what to do. So, until next time, ciao!